Could Cody Ponce be the bargain starting pitcher that the Giants have been looking for? Let's talk about it on a Friday edition of Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? Happy Friday. I'm Alan Salz. Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, thanks to people like you. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing at Sacramento River Cats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, it's going to be a fun one. We are discussing whether or not the Giants can survive going more of the bargain route with players like Cody Ponce coming back from overseas and the level of interest there. Then we are going to talk about the Heliot Ramos situation. Those who listen to the show every day, watch the show every day. There were some comments that were said after yesterday's show about how often I bring up Heliot Ramos, and I was a bit confused, to be honest with you, but I am somebody who likes to be able to self-reflect. I did some research, and I want to just share with you my thoughts on why it might feel like that. So I want to have that conversation as well. And last but not least, that will lead us into the final segment when we discuss which players are actually untouchable and which players should and shouldn't be untouchable. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So could Cody Ponce be the underrated move this offseason for the Giants? This is from Jeff Passan. Cody Ponce, right-handed starter. Ponce, once a former second-round pick, went to Korea, remade his body, gained 3 ticks on his fastball, learned a splitter, and is going to land the largest deal for a KBO to MLB jump. His stuff will play in a rotation, perhaps in San Francisco, where he can join his brother-in-law, 49ers tight end George Kittle. So I thought that was an interesting little note. When it comes to the money, this is obviously where the Giants have tried to tell us one thing, and I've said time and time again, I don't know that I believe them, but this is what they've been saying, that they don't want to spend a ton of money. Now, it might be the biggest contract for somebody going KBO to MLB, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be out of the Giants' money constraints, if you will, all right, out of their budget. So this is from the SF Chronicle. When shopping among pitchers coming back from Korea, every team wants the next Merrill Kelly. They'd rather not have the next Josh Lindblom. What separates those who make successful returns to MLB from Korea from those who struggle? When it comes to Kelly, he upped his velocity and added a cutter. Some others did not add velocity, but they added other pitches as well, and those are the pitches that are being used most, like a sweeper, when you come back to the United States. The good news for whoever signs Cody Ponce is that he did both. After sitting 93 with the Pirates in 2021, Ponce was up 2 ticks with the Hanwha Eagles. Those ticks also made his breaking balls better, as they were unimpressive by shape when he was last in Major League Baseball. The new pitch was a plus splitter that he threw more than any other secondary. The result was a strikeout percentage that was better than any of the other pitchers who have come over from the KBO. Now, when it comes to his projection, neither Britton nor Bowden has a projection for Ponce, but the high water mark for pitchers returning from Korea so far has been $15 million in a 2-year deal. Ponce would probably be worth the risk even at a higher price than that. So that's what we're looking at for the Giants, and I think that's something that is a lot more appealing than some of the other names that we've thrown out this week, like Framber Valdez and others. And like we said, second-round pick, not too long ago. He's 6'6", 255, big dude from SoCal, Pomona, California. At least that's where he was born. Yeah, and he went to Cal Poly Tech. Shout out to Cal Poly. He is 31 years old. Okay, so he's on the way to being 32. His birthday is in April, but yeah, he's 31 years old. I don't think you're looking at a 5-year deal for him or anything like that. So I think 2 years, 3 years, you'd be done in at 34, 35. And by that time, hopefully some of your internal guys would have turned the corner. I look at this very similar to how I look at the Cody Bellinger approach, right? This is somebody, and I know he would be maybe not Cody Bellinger, maybe closer to somewhere between Cody Bellinger and Harrison Bader, because 6 years is a lot for Cody Bellinger, but Harrison Bader seems a little bit short as far as a 2-year contract. So I look at it somewhere between Cody Bellinger and Harrison Bader, where you're going to be able to use him for the future, obviously, if it's a 2-3 year deal, but you also have some pitchers that are coming up, and you're hoping that one of these guys, whether it's the Bird Songs, the McDonald's, somebody like that, the Tidwells, somebody like that will be ready by the time maybe, okay, thank you for your time, Ponce. Now he's 34, 35, and you move on, and one of your guys is ready to go. Or maybe you've acquired somebody else. And that's the same idea. I mean, you'd have him for a longer period of time than a Scherzer or a Verlander, but it's kind of the same idea. It just feels like if the Giants are telling us the truth, right? And I think at this price point, you could still go out and get Imai. You could still go get him, right? You could still go get him as he's coming over from overseas. I think you could still go get Shota Imanaga, right? And maybe you say, hey, we don't necessarily need a Justin Verlander or a Scherzer. They should be able to get both if they go in this route. And I'd probably prefer this, right, to get two guys that we know, I guess we don't know, but two guys that we believe can pitch at the big league level and can hold their own. I mean, the Giants were throwing out kids that really just weren't ready. And at least we know these guys, Cody Ponce, this is what he did when he was in the majors before he went overseas. 2 seasons in the majors, he was 1-7. He threw 55 innings with a 5.86 ERA, and he had a strikeout to walk ratio of, it was 6.15. It was 6.15. So that's not good, right? That is not good, but we understand that he's not the same guy that he was, and there have been some hits to come out of the KBO. I will say this. Buster Posey, when we talked about that trip that they took overseas and they were looking at Murakami and others, Buster did say that the pitching was further along. So I would put this in the same conversation as if somebody is hitting, we were joking yesterday, at Coors Field, right? It's the opposite. It's for pitching. Whatever his numbers look like in the KBO, the hitters are better at the big league level. So you look at what he did in the KBO, and it probably won't look like that. And he was in the MPB as well. So he was 17-1 in the KBO. He was 10-16 in the MPB. But specifically with the KBO, I think that is where everybody's going to say, "Oh, okay, that's what he was. That's what he was able to accomplish. He only lost one game. He had a 1.89 ERA." We'd probably want to beef that up a little bit, or assume he's not going to do that in the major leagues. Maybe he will, but the numbers tell us, and history kind of tells us, that he could be Merrill Kelly for sure. But either way, the hitting is just better in the majors, right? Whether that affects him or not, we don't know, but that's just a fact. So you can't just look at what he did in the KBO and say that's exactly what he's going to do. Maybe it is, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, on the other side, let's talk about this Heliot Ramos thing. I really want to get to the bottom of it. I did some research, and we're going to have some fun here on a Friday, and I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say about it in the comments. More Locked On Giants coming up. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping up at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, All fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals too. Pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, download Game Time today. I have to tell you about my favorite jeans. My Doers. Seriously, they've changed my life. Right now, I'm wearing the Performance Denim Slim Straight, and I cannot get over how comfortable these jeans are. I've been reaching for my Doers for everything, running errands, grabbing dinner with friends, even heading to the ballpark because they look great and feel even better. Here's the thing. Doer jeans have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim, so you can actually move in them. They're also antibacterial, which means they stay fresh longer, wear more, wash less, and they're made with the Cool Max technology that helps regulate body temperature and wick moisture, so you stay cool and comfortable as the day changes. Honestly, they feel as stretchy as my favorite joggers, but look like I'm ready to go out on the town. Doer is all about combining classic jeanswear style with athletic level comfort and performance. It's the best of both worlds. They actually pioneered the original performance denim, blending technical innovation with everyday clothing that looks sharp and feels incredible. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without sacrificing style. Once you try them, they'll be your go-to pair. Trust me. And if you're in San Francisco, check out Doer's store at 567 Hay Street. Pick up a pair for yourself or grab one as an amazing holiday gift. Mention my promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or shop online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF for that same 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. Your new favorite jeans are waiting. Okay, so this is basically what happened yesterday. So I finished the show, I post the show, and I see a comment, and I want to get it right. I see a comment in the YouTube comments, and it says, "Your daily Locked On Trade Heliot Ramos podcast starring Alan Stiles." Now, first of all, I did think it was pretty funny. Second of all, I was taken aback a little bit because I don't feel like I talk about trading Heliot Ramos specifically a lot when we're talking about a full-blown segment on it. So how much I care about y'all and how much I care about this show and this podcast, I went back, and the only thing I could find, to be completely honest with you, now I'm not going to sit here and say that I listened back a whole month, but the one thing I could find was the episode where we focused on Hunter Green. Now, why would Heliot Ramos come up when we were talking about Hunter Green on the Reds? Because what did the Reds ask for? The Reds apparently, allegedly, reportedly, are asking for an MLB-ready bat, okay? So, again, I'm bringing this up because I appreciate y'all, and I want this show to be the best it can be. And when I saw it, I was a bit surprised. And the other reason I'm bringing it up, because we see comments all the time, but a lot of people put the thumbs up. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people agreed. So maybe Heliot Ramos comes up in passing. But the other part of it is, I just want everyone to know I don't have any type of vendetta against Heliot Ramos, or I don't want to trade Heliot Ramos. But when people are looking for an MLB-ready bat, right, and that's been the report with Hunter Green, let's look around the team and think about the other options that are out there. So, number one, the joke about me bringing it up every week, that's what the person then responded. I don't think that's true. Again, not full-blown segments. Maybe if we're talking in passing, maybe. Because we've been talking about Vitello and the coaching search for the last 2 weeks. But I digress. So, when it comes to MLB-ready bats, right, let's look at the Giants roster when we're specifically talking about trades. You don't have to trade them. Don't trade them. Right? I said give him another year in left field to figure it out. Okay? The people that are, and we had some good conversations yesterday with other commenters as well, the people that are throwing around these numbers about Heliot Ramos defensively, the numbers are the numbers, right? And you know me. What do I say at the beginning of every show? Combines passion, analytics with the eye test. Okay? Analytics says Heliot Ramos is a bad defender. That is not an Allen Styles opinion. That is a fact, okay? The eye test says Heliot Ramos sometimes makes some bonehead moves, sometimes makes some incredible moves. The eye test also says that he has a level of power that is not floating around Major League Baseball as much as you'd like, because he plays at Oracle Park and hit 21 home runs. So I do not want to move Heliot Ramos. But if we're having a conversation about trading, okay, I'm looking around this roster. You're not going to move any of the pitchers or anybody that would have value because you're low on pitching. We can bring up Drew Gilbert. I don't know how much value Drew Gilbert has. I think he could be a piece. I don't think he has as much value as Heliot Ramos. So the same argument to keep Heliot Ramos is the same argument to move on from him simply because of value and what you can get back. Fine, ship off Drew Gilbert. What are you getting back? I don't know. Fine, ship off Christian Koss. What are you getting back? I don't know. That's why his name does come up. I don't think it comes up every week, but that's why his name is going to continue to come up, because we're talking about value. Here's another name. Actually, there's two more names. Patrick Bailey, weird situation. He's a catcher. His value is in flux right now, but I think a lot of people would say, hey, let's see what Patrick Bailey can do. He just won another Gold Glove. I don't know how many Gold Glovers get traded that next season. I don't know. That's something for me to look up. When it comes to Casey Schmidt, who is the other guy, I think that he probably rivals Heliot Ramos in value. The difference for me is that Casey Schmidt is an infielder. And the value for Casey Schmidt, and I guess you could use the same argument, what Alan, you just said, based on value, that is a good argument to move off of someone. I agree. The Giants also don't have a second baseman. The Giants don't have a second baseman. You can piecemeal the outfield together, which is kind of what they've been doing, but you can piecemeal the outfield together because you always got guys that are going to be able to play. And also, if you are trying to get a free agent outfielder, you can find a bargain free agent outfielder, in my opinion, easier than you can find a bargain free agent infielder. Also, when you're looking at upside and when you're looking at what somebody could be, if you have somebody that can play second base, you believe, and I don't know what Casey Schmidt's going to be, right? But I would rather hold on to Casey Schmidt at second base after we just saw a disaster at second base when they tried to start Tyler Fitzgerald, who Tyler Fitzgerald might come back as an outfielder and figure it out. But right now, they don't have a second baseman. They have outfielders. And if you look at the free agent list, we've talked, you can find yourself a Harrison Bader. You can find yourself, I know Trent Grisham is going back to the Yankees, much to their chagrin. But you can more easily find outfield replacements that can give you something similar to Heliot Ramos, or you can keep him. The conversation is just, how are the Giants going to acquire a pitcher or a certain level of rotation or bullpen upgrade if they're going the trade route? And some teams might be okay with, look, I didn't bring up Bryce Eldridge because that's only coming up if we're talking school bowl or something like that. But I already understand that's not something that fans probably want to discuss right now unless it's for a big move like that. But when you look at the different prospects and those types of moves, prospects are all fine and good. Giants are still the 18th ranked farm system, right? So their prospects have decent value, but and we know Bryce Eldridge is the one, but their prospects as a whole, it's not the same as some of these other systems that are top 5, even top 10. So that is why MLB ready talent, and we should know how many prospects have we watched flame out and not do anything. So that is why it always seems to maybe, I guess, come back to Heliot Ramos. Still don't think it's once a week, but I do understand why it might feel like that, because if you look around, for me, right, if you are somebody that doesn't believe in Casey Schmidt or thinks, why don't we just move off of Casey Schmidt and go get another second baseman, that could be your take too. But I just wanted to address it. It's all good. This is what sports talk is about. That's why I wanted to talk about it. I'm not the type of person, I don't want this podcast, I don't want this show to just come off as I'm going to do my takes and then get out of here. If I see something interesting, specifically during the off season when we don't necessarily have games and nobody is getting signed right now, then I'm going to use it for us to continue the conversation. So I appreciate it. I didn't call out the YouTube comments name because I didn't know if they wanted me to or not, but you know who you are and you can see all the responses. It was a good conversation, but that's just where I'm coming from. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. Now let's keep that conversation going and discuss which players on the Giants should be untouchable this offseason. One more for you. Locked on Giants. Don't move. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. One more segment with you, and real quick, I just wanted to read what Buster Posey had to say about the outfielding situation, not to bring up what we talked about last segment, just to give you an idea of who may or may not be untouchable heading into this offseason, or we're already in the offseason. So during this offseason, Buster said, I kind of look at it as an open spot right now, talking about right field. We'll see how the offseason progresses as far as if there is anything we can do additions-wise to put us in a different spot, Posey said between general manager meetings at the Cosmopolitan. It's a work in progress. I do think there is more in the tank for Heliot Ramos, Jung Hoo Lee. I get in trouble for Jung Hoo Lee too. Something about these outfielders. I don't know. I'm an outfielder. Maybe I'm tougher on them than I should be. To get better out there, we have to be better for sure. There's no question we have to be better in the outfield as a group. Posey said it's something that we'll have to evaluate and kind of waiting to get coaching staff in place to have talks about what adjustments he can make to improve. And obviously going with Jace Tingler, and they got their hitting coach, their pitching coach. A lot happened in this week. So I think they're probably going to start having those conversations pretty darn soon. So that is what Buster Posey had to say about the defense. Josh Lewis, the same person from Around the Foghorn who wrote about the top 4 trade candidates for the Giants, he actually had Heliot Ramos #2 and Drew Gilbert was #1. I disagree simply because I think Heliot Ramos has more value. But this is what he had to say about Drew Gilbert. But we just got the guy, and he is an energy that we need. Tell that to fan favorite Hunter Pence, whom the Giants let go twice. Energy itself is not enough, and while Gilbert is fun to watch in the dugout, his passion and solid defense could be a great flip to another team for relief pitching help if Giants decide they saw enough of him in the last month of the season and go after a different right fielder of the future. Yeah, and I've said this before. I mean, if you're making me choose, I know it's tough, but if you're making me choose, I really do love Drew Gilbert. You know that. He's lefty. I've been following him since Tennessee, smaller outfielder that goes in the first round. I mean, that's my dream. That's literally my dream. But if you're making me choose between him and Luis Matos, just from, you could say an upside perspective, you could just say from what we've seen Luis Matos do more at the MLB level than Drew Gilbert. So that is, to me, a version of process of elimination. And we know what Luis Matos, we've seen him do more. We've seen the hot stretches. I wish they'd be more consistent, but we saw one hot stretch from Drew Gilbert. That's all we saw. Maybe there's something untapped there, but I don't know, man. I can't do the right field carousel again. I would just go get Harrison Bader. Or if you're going to hold on to Luis Matos, and I think he's out of options, so you'd have to keep him at the big league level. You go get a lefty, and then you keep the righty kind of rotation, if you will. If you go get a lefty, then you move on from Drew Gilbert or not. I know Luis Matos, it would be tougher. Or you get a lefty and you say, hey, Luis, we're going to do the platoon thing again. And this is it. Because at some point, I know nobody likes platooning. Nobody enjoys that. But that's kind of what you have to do to prove yourself. And then they'll let you go up against, righties and things like that, we think. So that is the situation in the outfield. In general, some of these guys have no trade clauses, but let's get the obvious ones. And that would be like Matt Chapman, because I do see people sometimes say, well, move off of Matt Chapman. And to be honest with you, I'm not really against it, but he does have a no trade clause. And I don't know that he'd be willing to waive it. If Bob Melvin got another job somewhere else, maybe that would be the case. But I don't think that's going to happen this season. He might be an assistant somewhere. But Matt Chapman, obviously untouchable, no trade clause. Willy Adames, untouchable. Rafi Devers, untouchable. Pitching wise, I mean, obviously all the starters, Logan Webb, Landon Roop, Robbie Ray, they're going to have to figure out his contract, next season. So those are the obvious ones. Outside of that, yeah, the Jung Hoo Lees get interesting. I don't know what Jung Hoo Lee's value is right now. Maybe I'm downplaying it, but also you made this commitment to him and he's only played 1 year. So I think you'd want him to build up the value more if you even want to think about it. Maybe you don't. Right. Let's see what he can do. Let's see does he stick in center field? I don't know if anybody understands what Jung Hoo Lee's value is. So by virtue of that, I wouldn't call him untouchable. I would call him like NA, not applicable. You just don't know what to do with him. All of the right field carousel, obviously, some of those guys are out of options. Any of them could be on the trading block. That's fine. I'm not bringing up the left fielder because we've done that enough today, but he probably isn't untouchable. I'll say it like that. Yeah, Casey Schmidt to me isn't untouchable, but you couldn't move him and say, hey, we have somebody. I know they re-signed Osleves Basabe to AAA, but if you're moving off of him, you're probably bringing in a Gleyber Torres. You're bringing in a second baseman, right? I don't think you're moving off of him because as far as I know, there is not another second baseman waiting in the wings right now for the Giants. I've said, hey, is it crazy to think that Rafi Devers could play a little second? I mean, he played third. I know you got to turn two and it's a different style of play, but nobody's talking about it. Maybe they won't. But if you moved off of Casey Schmidt, I think you would be going again. I don't think you can pair up Alex Bregman with Rafi Devers again. But if you're moving off of Casey Schmidt, you're probably getting somebody. And that crop of infielders, the free agent infielders, didn't feel great. And do you feel good enough to start Christian Koss every day? You used Casey Schmidt to make your bullpen better or get a starter or something like that. Now you're running out Christian Koss. You tried Tyler Fitzgerald again. So I don't see that happening. I don't think that he's untouchable, Casey Schmidt. It just is what is out there from a second base perspective. The Bo Bichettes that we talked about, I don't see them spending that type of cash. So yeah, that's where I fall. It's kind of the obvious ones. And then on the bridge, I would say nobody's untouchable if the price is right. And that's where the Bryce Eldridges come into play. Then there are other guys like Jung Hoo Lee where you just don't know. So you probably aren't having those type of conversations. In Casey Schmidt, where unless you're planning on bringing in a second baseman, you're kind of going to have to roll with him. And he showed enough that you're not going to move off of him. So to me, it's the whole infield is a level of untouchable, not including Bryce Eldridge, because you never know what you could get for a starting pitcher. Patrick Bailey is not untouchable, but again, you're not going to let Jesus Rodriguez be the catcher from day one. Are you going to bring in a 34-year-old JT Realmuto? I don't see that either. So I think he's kind of in that Jung Hoo Lee conversation as well, where you just don't know what his value is, but you don't know if you don't make calls. So maybe you can make some calls. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. I truly, truly appreciate y'all. And I enjoy having conversations like that. Obviously, we're not going to do it all the time because those that are listening on the podcast might not necessarily know what I'm talking about because this happened on YouTube, even though I feel like there's enough context there. But I really do appreciate it. So I thank all of you, and we're continuing to grow and make this thing bigger. So I can't do it without you and without challenging me. So I really do appreciate that. Have a good weekend, everyone. If you're listening to this on the weekend, I hope you are enjoying it. Be sure to follow me at @the_Styles with an I, and the official Locked On Giants account on X and on TikTok. We will talk to you on Monday. Until then, peace.